car, van?
Car, yeah, just finished up.
Good evening and welcome to DJNTV tonight. Tonight we're going to be talking to 4 different entertainers, DJs who have changed up their business a little bit in 2020. So we're going to jump right into it. Our first guest tonight is Brandon Havrilla. Good evening, Brandon.
Good evening, John. How are you? It's been a while.
Give us a little bit of feedback of what you have been up to here in 2020 as things have kind of gone completely haywire from a regular year.
A little bit different, to say the least. We kind of just taking it day by day. Had to make a few pivots and changes in our business and what we are doing, from just entertainment and DJs when, the government, at least here in New York where we are, was very strict in the beginning and was like, you can't party, you can't DJ, you can't, do that kind of thing. And it took a while for them to open up a little bit and say, okay, you can party in your backyard, but it can't be more than 10 people, or okay, you can have a DJ at a restaurant, but there can't be dancing, and blah, blah, blah. So, with all that, I know people were doing like drive-by DJs here and stuff like that, which was another pivot that a lot of DJs chose to make. We kind of went in 2 different other directions. With our manufacturing side, I decided to start making sneeze guards and germ barriers for a lot of businesses and schools and churches and stuff like that, because that was a need. So, totally not DJ related, but it's actually helping our business, because now when the DJ events do come back, our workshop is way beyond where it was just for building DJ front boards. So now we have, more capabilities for when that does come back. And another thing we did was bought a large format printer to do vinyl signage and stickers and stuff. So that's been another, direction we went. And then to tie it together, I didn't want to lose the event side. I love doing events and that kind of thing. So we partner with a local museum and we produced a haunted house. And now I'm actually sitting in my car because we just finished up the last night of a Christmas light show that we did at the same museum. So that was kind of another direction we did that just kind of ties it back to the event so that we're not, totally out of it.
So now you had a workshop and you were producing DJ front boards, you were saying, correct?
Right. Yeah. DJ front boards and like the LED staging that we use a lot here in New York, LED cocktail tables and furniture, all that kind of stuff we were building in-house.
Nice. So you were able to basically do a little bit of retooling, and that's where the sneeze guards and different things came in.
Exactly. Yeah. Because we were used to working with the aluminum framing that we use, and it's the aluminum extrusion. And then we were used to working with plexiglass too, because we use plexiglass and acrylic. We just used a frosted white, so that we could light it up from behind. And now I just had to, call my suppliers and say, hey, I need clear.
So how much of a learning curve was it to go from doing the front boards then to retooling the workshop to do these different things?
So, yeah, we use the term retooling on our website, actually. And I guess, there wasn't.
Oh, we lost a microphone.
Oh, can you hear me?
There you are. Now you're back. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so it wasn't as much, retooling. We're using a lot of the same tools. I kind of went in there one day. It was in maybe a month into like our shutdown here in New York. I went into my shop and I looked around and I said, there's got to be something here I could use to make money right now, or do something with, rather than sitting at home. And I happened to be looking at like the sheets of acrylic and the aluminum extrusions, and I said, if I build this in a frame, like I saw what the supermarkets were doing, I saw what the stores were doing, they were hanging them off the ceilings and stuff. So I said, I can build a frame, I can come down to the bottom, put like a T connector and put feed on or whatever. So I went into the shop one day, I threw together like a prototype, and I actually used frosted acrylic because that's all I had there before I went out and bought the clear.
Right.
And I was like, all right, this is kind of cool, but it's wobbly, I need to make the legs longer. And I just kind of experimented until I found a design that worked, and then I put it out there online, and that sold, and then we kind of kept going. And then as things progressed and we started selling more, and we got needs for hair salons, wanted them for in between their chairs, but they didn't want the tubing that we have because it was a tripping hazard. So we had to kind of retool in that manner and start welding plates, metal steel plates that had more weight on the bottom and were flat, so that there was no tripping hazard. So that's kind of where the retooling came in. But like you said, it was a little bit of a learning curve, but we just kind of figured it out as we went, and now that gives us the upper edge because we might be able to I don't know, maybe use steel plates for front boards or something like that in the future.
So if you look at a typical summer, like you would have had so many people working with the entertainment company, as you were doing these different projects throughout the year, were you able to continue to have about the same number of people involved, or was there a reduction, or how did that work out?
Yeah. So in terms of like full-time staff that we have a lot of freelancers and stuff. So it's kind of like call as needed, which, almost as much as it sucks, kind of helped us in this situation because it's a call as needed basis. So if there was no need, we didn't have to, make those calls. But the handful of guys that we did have on payroll, like full time, we did have to reduce a little bit. In the beginning, we shut down completely. Right. We all were out of work. And then as things started coming back, I took them one by one. I was like, hey, listen, I'll take you 2 days a week. Let's build some sneeze guards and get it done. And then the orders came in. We started doing that. Then we had event stuff come in. So I was able to pull a few of those guys back in. But it was a significant reduction. And that was another reason that I made the pivot with the sneeze guards and a pivot with the, printing, was that, I want to keep my guys on payroll, and, I want to give them a job. I don't want them to have to, collect unemployment through it either. So although it might not be ideal, I mean, right now we just had another office order 20 more sneeze guards because they had 2 cases in their office. They already ordered like 60 for their office cubicles, and now they want to add like the in-betweens. And we like shrugged our shoulders. We're like, oh, we don't want to do this. We're done with it, but it's like, it's keeping food on the table and turning the lights on in the shop. So we got to do it.
So I want to go and hit into the printing side, but before we do that, is that building of different assets like that in the workshop, is that something you guys are going to continue on after things start to come back in 2021, or is that going to be something that it got us through, now let's put that to bed and continue on as entertainment?
Yeah, so it's interesting because a lot of my guys have been bringing up the same thing too, and they're like, are we screwing ourselves by doing all this stuff and making ourselves broad and that kind of thing? And I don't think so. From the business side of things, I mean, if the money's there and people are paying for the stuff, we can hire more people, we can buy more tools or better machinery that does more things on its own or whatever it is. I think we can go in that direction if it, makes sense business wise. I'd love to, be able to build up that workshop and have guys there just to work on those things. So then if I need something for an event, I turn around onto my desk and I'm like, hey guys, can you, build me a new front board and take a break from those sneeze guards or whatever it is. Sneeze guards in particular might stop. There's going to become a point where every business has them, or we don't need them anymore, hopefully. So those might stop, but we certainly will keep that workshop going and keep selling stuff. Yeah.
So has there been any kind of products that you guys have started or jumped into that you were like, wow, I would have never seen that coming, but all of a sudden there was a request or that inspiration to all of a sudden bring something new to market? Did any of that come as you guys were designing?
So we haven't done anything with that yet besides sneeze guards. I mean, we have designed a bunch of like custom sneeze guards that were then brought in by like the hair salons. We designed ones that were on wheels to roll around and that kind of thing. So we've gotten a little creative with that, but we've been so tied up with that in the shop that we haven't gotten a chance to even experiment with event stuff and that kind of thing yet. So I am excited for that. But we've had a few odd odd and ends things pop up. And we're actually right now we have a bunch of wood and turf at the shop because we did a COVID testing site, and we had tents there. We have trussing with banners and signage and stuff. And with the recent snowfall we had here in New York, the ground's all wet. It's soaking wet. There's like mud under it. So they're like, we need something in the tent so that, my employees aren't walking around in mud. So they wanted us to put down a floor. So basically we're building a plywood floor that locks together, that can be moved from site to site. And we're wrapping it in a turf so that, it's almost like walking on an AstroTurf, and they could, clean it as needed. And the water, we're going to drill holes so the water drains out. And so that's kind of like a unique project that, again, I'm just sure we're going to be able to use those tools and skills and experience in other ways and carry it over to the event side as well.
Excellent. Let's jump into the printing side of it. Now, was this printer something that was on your radar that you were going to be getting, or is this something that 2020 brought to your attention and you said, hey, we got to go this way?
So it's funny because I've always wanted a printer. I've always been big on the branding thing. So I've always offered a lot of like corporate branding solutions to slap a logo on the back of our photo booth, or slap a logo on our DJ booth or whatever it is. And so I've always been big on that. And I've always wanted a printer to be able to print my own little logos for the photo booth or whatever, something small. I was looking initially like 24 inches. I was even looking at like the Cricut, like the consumer level ones you could buy at Michael's, and just cut vinyl with and that kind of thing. And I was looking at it, and my guys know that when I get onto something and I start seeing better things, I usually go for the better things because I'm like, oh, it's so cool and the potential it has and blah blah blah. So we were looking around at printers, and I'm like, oh, okay, the 24-inch one's $3,000, blah blah blah, and then we're looking at higher end ones, and this one happens to print and cut. So if I wanted to cut out oval stickers, I can have it print full color and then go back and cut out the stickers for me. I could do car wraps, vehicle wraps, everything like that. So it's really like a multi-tool of printers, which is really cool. And I ended up going with the biggest model they had, which is a 64-inch wide printer, so we can do those vehicle wraps. I don't plan on doing that now, but it is something that again, if the money's there, I'll hire people just to do vehicle wraps under us, and then when I buy a new truck, my wrap's free.
Exactly.
So it was something that it was on my radar. Was buying the biggest one out there on my radar? Probably not, but it just was something that was like, what, if we get this now, God forbid we don't sell sneeze guards or events don't come back. Let's, we'll teach ourselves how to do vehicle wraps, and let's just wrap vehicles for, whatever through the whole winter, or something to keep us busy. So it gave us that opportunity. So, I'm glad we went with it, and we've been able to, push that for doing stickers and large format banners and stuff like that. So it's been very helpful. And completely unrelated, we literally just did it because of this one snowstorm, but we happened to start shoveling driveways too because it was on a Thursday. We didn't have our light show event till the weekend, so me and my guys were like, let's pick up a few snow blowers and go see how many driveways we can bang out. So we went and did that, but it was to tie it together. Having the printer was awesome because I turned around to the printer and I printed snow removal graphics. We stuck stickers on the back of our cars. We printed lawn signs and staked them all over town, so it's just another cool thing that is nice to be able to do in-house. So it's definitely helpful. So
when you said the snowblowers, did you actually go out and buy snowblowers?
We did, yeah. We went out and bought 2 of them, and some shovels and ice melt.
And you were out, good to go. I saw that, and I was wondering, it's like, gosh, did he go and take I got my snowblower from home, let's go.
So I did actually have one for my house, but it was like older, it didn't work too well or whatever. So we went out and picked up 2 like bigger commercial ones that could do the driveways a little bit faster, and we did really well. We ended up doing like 37 houses in like an 18-hour period.
Oh my! So
it was cool, and I'm sure we'll get more snow this season as well.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that's going to be out there. So you mentioned lighting, that you were just doing a lighting event here tonight. Now, is that something that you were doing before with the company, the entertainment company, or is that something that you had to kind of adjust and add more to do lighting events?
Yeah, so that's actually another pivot. I don't know, like here on Long Island, we have like the Jones Beach light show. We have a bunch of like drive-through light shows. It's a Christmas light show. So they have big wire displays and like, they wrap all the trees of a property or whatever it may be. And there's a bunch of those here where you drive through, and we're very popular this year because they're safe and you could be in your car and blah, blah, blah. So with this museum we partnered with, they have a huge property. It's a mansion, estate. So everyone can be socially distant and everything like that. So we partnered with them to put on a Christmas light show, but a walkthrough one rather than a drive-through. So people can come, walk around with masks on, be socially distant. We set up Santa behind plexiglass to take pictures with the kids, which again is just because we were able to make that plexiglass, and everything kind of ties together. We printed all the signage for the event and everything like that as well. So it was really cool, but it was something that, we did the haunted house with them. And that was another thing. I had to buy everything for the haunted house. This was the same thing. I own Christmas lights for my house, but I don't own enough to decorate in the state, So we went out, and made a huge investment in Christmas lights. We bought, I think over like 10,000 feet of regular Christmas lights. We bought 50 wire displays. We bought, some blow ups. We bought, wreaths and all garland, all types of stuff, and decorated the estate with it. I even went out and bought like oversized nutcrackers, like 8 foot high nutcrackers for in Santa's workshop, and 4 foot wide presents and stuff like that. So it was all an investment that, we'll be able to take with us. This event we just wrapped up today, went extremely well. We've already been talking about next year with them. So excellent. That's going to be happening. But, if it wasn't, we had the investment. Now we have the inventory where we could have turned to any venue, firehouse, town, whatever it might be, and, produce a different light show. So that was very cool. And what happened, ironically, is after posting a picture or two of that setup, at this commercial estate, we got a bunch of people asking us if we could throw lights up at their house, and I have a hard time saying no to people, so that was like yeah, sure, we'll do it. So we made some runs to Home Depot. We ended up decorating like 10 residential houses as well, which was cool to carry those skills over. And again, it's something that if we got enough calls next year and it made sense to do, we'll probably do it, pay some extra guys and do it. If it's like we get 1 or 2 and we're just so tied up with events, it might, fall under the radar, and we'll go back to what we do,
Yeah. Brandon, great information. Thank you very much for being on tonight. We need to jump on to our next one. Brandon, if people want to reach out to you, what's the quickest way or best way?
Easiest way is probably Facebook or Instagram. You just find me nice and easy. It's my name, Brandon Havrilla. And you can shoot me a message there or friend request me.
That sounds great. Gang, we'll be back in about 1 minute.
Thanks, Jim.
Coming to us from the great state of South Dakota is the one and only DJ Jer. Good evening, Jeremy.
Hey, John, how are you?
I'm doing well. Tell us the story. What did you guys do in 2020 to stay alive? And
oh my gosh.
And as good looking as you are.
What's that?
And as good looking as you always are.
Oh yeah. I just got a haircut for this. I'm going to be completely honest. I took advantage of some downtime, and I got some good family time in. And I think, emotionally and mentally, I think everyone kind of has to do that. You have to spend time with your family. You sacrifice so much. They sacrifice so much. So, and I'll definitely get into what we did as a business, but I really wanted to kind of start with this because I think it's extremely important that people take the time. If you have the time, spend it with your kids, spend it with your family. We took a trip out to Yellowstone National Park, which I never would have done in the beginning of June. But it was a great opportunity for us. So, it was good family time, good time at the lake. But as a business, we were kind of fortunate, John, because we started doing virtual events about 3.5 years ago, and we understood how they worked and what needed to happen. Once we saw that, okay, this is, a lot of these people are canceling their in-person events, we're going to have to start doing some things virtually. It really allowed us to kind of fine tune things a little bit more for us. So the virtual event, that really became a big part of our spring, a big part of our fall. Summer, usually, they don't do too much in the summer when it comes to corporates and those type of things, but we did a lot of virtual galas. We did a lot of things that, we helped out a lot of businesses. Another thing too, was in the virtual aspect, we've actually had quite a bit of calls to help out with virtual funerals. drive-in funerals, those type of things. So people would actually come to the cemetery, and usually you can never hear, you can never, you can't really see what's going on. So we have video wall, we have, audio that we can allow the pastor to do the session at the ceremony, or I'm sorry, at the cemetery.
Service, yeah.
And it allowed people to either stay in their car using an FM transmitter, or it allowed people to just hear it from the speakers that we were playing. That became more popular in Minnesota because Minnesota is a lot more shut down or strict compared to what we are in South Dakota. Some other things, we really took advantage of using our video wall this year.
Okay.
And some of the things that we were fortunate, again, we had already kind of started the process of doing in-person game show events. We did a lot of them this last holiday season. And when things kind of shut down and people needed entertainment, for instance, the city of Sioux Falls, the city of Sioux Falls shut down the pools throughout the entire city. Mm-hmm. So if you don't know much about Sioux Falls is a small town compared to a lot of your bigger cities. We're under 200,000 people, but it is the biggest town or the biggest city in South Dakota. And, we kind of saw that people, just watching social media and just hearing people complain, oh, I can't believe they're not having pools. What are my kids going to do this year? I'm circling back to why we did the whole game show thing, or why we talked about for Christmas. What we did is we actually reached out to the city and said, we have some programming ideas that are social safe, that can be very beneficial for the kids and also the community. And this was our big thing. We really put a lot of focus in this project, and we reached out to a lot of businesses that I knew cared about the community and wanted to do something for the community. And it's not always just about giving money. And that's where we couldn't, we wanted to do something, but we couldn't just fork over a bunch of cash when we're trying to keep our business going and try to keep our employees employed.
Right.
So we basically used our talent and our equipment. So what we ended up doing was, with our video wall, we actually set it up. We purchased a trailer, flatbed trailer, and we mounted a system on the trailer using trussing. And then we mounted our truss, or our video wall, on the trussing, and we put some cool lights and stuff on it. We mounted our EV speakers on it. And what that did was, basically, we created a traveling game show. So doing all the game show stuff that we did for our corporate clients and things like that in the past, it kind of tuned us and said, okay, how can we utilize this and create entertainment? So we reached out to the city of Sioux Falls and said, we know that there's not a lot going on in Sioux Falls, but here's some fun ideas. We did hydrant parties. We would do a live DJ at the hydrant parties, getting kids excited, moving around, burn off some energy. Mm-hmm. And, they had a lot of people there, but again, it was socially safe. And, they were making good decisions on still giving people something to do. And then the game show thing, we, again, reached out to businesses in our community, and we got sponsors that were actually involved in helping us put this trailer and this video wall and getting gift cards. And I think this was the important part. So our job as entertainers, we get hired as entertainers because people can afford us, or because businesses are staying busy, or they're staying in business. So our focus of this project, John, was to help the businesses that are eventually going to need our services, or are going to, their employees are going to need a DJ for their wedding someday.
Sure.
We helped keep those businesses keep them open. So with that sponsorship money, we went out and we actually would go to these restaurants that were struggling, and some of these other places that really didn't have the foot traffic. And we went out and we purchased gift cards from some of these restaurants and some of these businesses in the Sioux Falls area, really focusing on local. And it allowed people, when we did the game show stuff, it allowed people to win those prizes and actually go spend money at those places.
Sure.
Now, we did it strategically enough where they would be maybe $10 gift cards, or $5 gift cards, or $15 gift cards. It was never going to a restaurant and your whole meal was going to be paid for.
Sure. Yeah.
So we got people in the doors to use the gift cards, and then they would actually spend extra cash or extra money to help revenues within those businesses. So that was one of our big projects that we did this year. And then I really haven't given you a chance to talk. I've had a lot of excitement that I wanted to share.
I'm only here to keep the conversation going if you stall. So
okay. Well, I won't, because I have a lot of fun things.
Well, you've got 7 minutes left or 6 minutes left. Go.
So, as we were going through that, a lot of people saw it, and next thing you know, we're doing parties for people that they're like, hey, our company needs a boost. They need a morale boost right now. Can you do this in a facility for us? And we'll bring in our team and, just pump them up and get them energized and have some fun with them doing games. And we actually booked a lot of corporate events doing that as well. So they weren't Christmas parties. It was just, we need to pump up our team here and get them excited. Mm-hmm. So come August, usually that's when a lot of the Christmas stuff is coming in and booking. Well, obviously there's not going to be a lot of Christmas parties going on this year. And so we started getting those phone calls from our normal clients back in May and June. We're like, okay, this is normal. We'll have other people fill it, and then we'll just work with them next year. And a lot of people were saying, we're just not going to do a Christmas party, which as a business, it made sense because you have to keep the safety of your workers, but also if their business wasn't doing as well either because of this whole pandemic, then it allowed them to save that and put that towards people's jobs and keep people employed. So I wasn't upset about it. I thought it was very smart on their end. And they said, you know what, we appreciate your understanding, because we had contracts with some people. And we said, you know what, everything that you've paid, we'll just put it towards next year. So what that does is it locks us in to help them out with their party for next year. Not a big deal. But once we started getting those phone calls, we're like, okay, what are we going to do if we have no Christmas parties going on? So we actually started taking everything that we were doing in the traveling game show, and we were doing it virtually. And what that did was basically we used certain software. We would use like OBS and Zoom and things like that. And we would use these softwares to actually build our entire set of game show. And we did green screen in the background. So the board would change. I could do a Wheel of Fortune style game. I could do Family Feud. I can do all these different games, and it would be green screen behind me. And then I would be the host. And I had about 4 other guys that were helping with. Somebody was running the Zoom screen shares or the pinning. I had one person who was doing just the game show board. I had one person who was just taking care of OBS, and then I had another person who was communicating back and forth with me. So if there were people who have questions, they could type, and then they would be able to relay that to me. But I could also see all that, and I could also hear that. So using the specific equipment that we've been using for years, it allowed us to create a virtual aspect in this, and it went very successful this year. We didn't probably push it as much as we could have, but again, I think people were in a really desperate state of, we really need to think of our clients, or we need to think of our employees before we start trying to, hey, we're going to spend some money on some entertainment. It just made more sense for them to put money towards their employees. And I thought that was very bold, very good on their part. So
Jeremy,
it was a busy year, John.
Talk about your staff a little bit now. In a typical summer, you have X number of people that are working for you. How did that change from 2019 to 2020 as far as, were you able to keep people working with you, or did some people?
Yeah, great question. The PPP plan was definitely a benefit for us. But truthfully, again, and I'm not doing this as bragging, but South Dakota was very open about providing events and doing things. We had a lot of postponements that happened, in the beginning of summer. Our fall stayed extremely busy, and we actually hired additional employees. We've now hired an additional full-time employee, and we have 2 other part-time that we've brought into our system because of some of the changes and some of the movement that we were creating. Just trying new things. And then it's like, okay, well, that worked, but I can't put that on his shoulders and his shoulders. I need to bring someone else in to focus on that. So, like I said, I don't want to say we took advantage of some of these opportunities, but 2020, it definitely hurt our numbers. We were supposed to be building a 14,000 square foot warehouse.
I remember that, yeah.
And office space, but that got, those brakes got pumped pretty quick when after we signed our paperwork, and then 2 days later, the government shut everything down. So, yeah, we definitely had to look at the whole picture and say, okay, we can wait to create this building. And it just makes more sense to bring on a team. So when that building's ready to go up, we've got a great team to fill it.
Yeah, there you are. You're doing some great. Jeremy, just about out of time. If people want to get in touch with you and ask any questions or bounce ideas off, what have you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, they can always email me directly, jeremy@djjer.com, jeremy@djjer.com. I am an open book. I'll be happy to help anybody. And again, I mean, keep your head up. Things are definitely going to turn around. It might not be right now, might not be tomorrow, but if you keep working through it, you're going to have a great 21.
And we'll get there, that's for sure. Jeremy, thank you much for being on. Gang, we'll be right back in about 1 minute.
Thanks, John.
So in our show tonight, we are talking about things that people have done to pivot in 2020, getting ready for making money as far as, in a world in which the DJ world is just kind of upside down. Next, we've got KoKorus. I mean, we have a Santa Claus.
Oh, Merry Christmas, everybody. How are we doing?
We are doing well, doing well. Casey, this is something that throughout the year you've been looking at different things to kind of pivot and do differently this year. So let's jump back ahead of the Santa, what you were doing throughout the summer, and then we'll get into the Santa here towards the end of our conversation.
Well, there was a lot of crying in the shower, curled up in ball. No, I've been lucky because I am somewhat diversified. When this all started, being that for those of you who don't know, I have a bridal show production company. Well, in the very beginning, I took all of my leads from all of the shows, clumped them all together, and started selling a list with at least 5,000 guaranteed names on it to Chicago wedding-orientated vendors. And I have to tell you, that got me through March, April, and probably the beginning of May without a problem. Mm-hmm. And then I also happen to own a company called Buddy's Special Events, which is a cart-based catering business. So we do the cute little hot dog carts and popcorn carts and cotton candy carts. So pretty much all summer long, we did a lot of very small, socially distanced graduation parties, birthday parties. We were at a pop-up drive-in movie theater every single Friday night, selling Chicago's finest Vienna beef hot dogs. And we also got lucky. We hooked up with Home Depot and got involved with feeding, I think, like 9 different stores for some of they have a thing called the Success Celebration. And so because Home Depot did so incredibly well, because so many people chose to take this downtime to work on their lawn, work on their home, work on everything, they've seen record numbers and they share it with their staff. So they have a whole program called the Success Celebration. So we came in and did taco carts and hot dog carts. And then the fall came, and about that time, too, I had also, through our decor company, added the lawn signs that are made on Coroplast that we started doing happy birthdays and happy graduations and I want a divorce, in the front lawn and all of those good things. So I've just continued to pivot. I also started a website called thehowtofortheido.com, which is technically it's a national directory for wedding vendors. We're really focusing on it in the Chicago market and in the Milwaukee market, but you can go on there and register your business for free. And then as we expand all over the country, if we choose to do that, it's kind of like a version of the Knot, but it's a fraction of the cost. We're at $35 a month versus $350 a month. So if you're in the Midwest, I would tell you to at least check out the website, see what you think. And then about in August, after being on my 700th Zoom call, I made a smart aleck comment to somebody about how even Santa's going to be on Zoom this year, and the light bulb went off, and I wound up doing some research, and I connected with an unbelievably nice DJ named Scott Rousseau up in Minnesota, and I know you know him as well, John.
Yes.
And he was kind enough to share with me his experience because he had set his business up for it. And he shared with me what he knew, and we've been think tanking kind of ever since and exchanging ideas and such. And then it's been good because I've been able to do a lot of this myself. I started in July growing this big old beer, which will officially be gone on December 26th when I go to the barber and it comes off and you guys get to see me again. But we set the whole program up. I devised a website, and it's all turnkey. It's easier to book Santa than it is to book a flight on American Airlines, to be honest with you. It's super simple, super turnkey, and it's been great. And I did the 30 Rock Buildings holiday event this year. I did U.S. Foods. I've popped on to all kinds of different things, even if it's just a quick hi, hello. Last week, I did a bunch of first grade classrooms and second grade classrooms coming in as Santa. I had never done one before. I was on an Indian reservation with a whole bunch of families that were homeschooling. So lots of really, really cool stuff. I've talked to families literally from Canada to, all over the country, all assets of the country. So, but as you can see, I went all in. So anybody who knows what I normally look like, I grew this bad boy long. I've been to the salon 3 times to have it bleached. And so that's where we're at. So that's it.
So I think
we devised our little set here, and it's worked.
I think one of the cool things, Casey, is you're talking about, you're starting to grow the beard in the summer, but the idea that you started in August to prepare for a business that's only going to be like a November, December type business.
It's like 5 or 6 weeks. Yeah. My first appointment started like the week of Thanksgiving. And I actually spent Thanksgiving here, and my family totally understood. I'll be here Christmas Eve and part of Christmas Day. Christmas Day, I'm actually doing some socially distanced in-person visits where I'm dropping gifts off that Santa forgot to bring the night before. So the kids get to go crazy and come outside real quick and take a picture with Santa and things like that. But the 26th, my family and I we're doing a family Christmas on the 26th so that I can be there with my nephew and niece and parents and things like that. So it is a little bit of a sacrifice, but all we've done in 2020 is sacrifice.
And that has been the year of that.
To pay the bills.
That is. Let's jump back to the food carts. You did. You mentioned, of course, taco. You mentioned the hot dog. In a business such as that, there's got to be, because that people they're really impressed with the Santa, by the way, in the chat room. And thank you guys for being with us. I'm watching the chat, but we're just kind of we're hustling through tonight. The Santa's the cool part. But for someone who's like, hey, that food cart idea is kind of a neat thing. If somebody's interested in that, well, how do they get started, or where do they begin?
Well, the first thing you're going to have to do is actually find one. I happened to buy a business that was already pre-existing since 1995.
Okay.
And I bought it 2 years ago. It really was our saving grace this summer because I already had popcorn carts, ice cream carts, hot dog carts. I've got 4 or 5 hot dog carts. And essentially, it's a portable steam table. And different manufacturers make them differently. One of our carts is electric, so it's like a giant crock pot. We have a bunch of the rest of them. We use the little catering sternos underneath. So it's essentially like a portable sternos, or portable chafing dishes. And we cook everything to 120 degrees for hot dogs, make sure that they're all temperature. And everything we have is stainless steel, and it's all cleaned and disinfected. And so that's it. I mean, the nice part about doing this novelty stuff is almost everything we do is already cooked. The hot dogs technically are cooked. Popcorn is not going to
Yeah.
get anybody sick. Cotton candy, snow cones, things like that. So it's not like we're trying to be, a Food Channel cook. So it's nice and it's easy. So everything's almost prepped for us. I also work with a Chicago area beef guy, and Italian beef sandwiches in Chicago are huge. And so my family knows a gentleman. So whenever we do the beefs, he actually makes them for us. And then all we're doing is heating them back up the next day. So we've got unbelievably fresh homemade beef sandwiches, and we make them all Chicago style. So, and everybody knows you don't put ketchup on a hot dog. Okay? Sacrilegious, I tell you.
Well,
So,
obviously you guys just don't have good brands of ketchup in Chicago. I'm just going to say it.
I don't even know why they sell it in Chicago. It should be like you should be carded. If you're 8 years of age or under, you're allowed to. After that,
You got to go to
nope.
mustard or something else.
Listen, I've been given a lot of props for doing what I'm doing, and all I'm doing is grinding. Okay? Every single person watching the show can do exactly what I'm doing. So I'm no smarter than anybody else in this audience. I'm just working. I'm working my butt off. I mean, John, you and I talk off the air all the time. Yesterday, I was here from 8:30 in the morning, or 8 o'clock in the morning until 8:30 at night. My first Santa session this morning was at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I'll be done with you about 9 o'clock at night tonight. So it isn't. I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm not the first person to come up with Santa Claus. I'm just figuring out my way of doing it. And part of that too is, as you know, is I went to the media, and I've been doing press releases since October. And I've been very fortunate. I was in the Chicago Area Daily Herald. I was in the Chicago Tribune. Saturday, I was on the WGN. And then tomorrow night I'll be on CNBC's show for a segment we taped last week. So, and then I made the big time, and I'm on Disc Jockey News.
You did. You made the big time.
Huge.
I wanted to spend
the dozens
of people who are just incredible.
Thought that they were still tuning into Jeremy Brech, and I came on.
And they're like, what's this guy with the beard? What's up with that? Casey, I wanted to spend we got a couple more minutes yet. The hustle part of it. The things were down at the beginning, and we were kind of this. There was shell shock. There was some depression. Let's call it that.
Denial.
And denial. Yeah, we were going through these phases, but you hit that point where all of a sudden, as you talked about the grind, you were there and you were working it. What was your motivation to change that mindset where you were in there grinding away? How did you do that? Because that's tough.
It is tough. Listen, I'm not going to lie and say that I didn't break down crying, and I'm losing it now. Listen, I'm no different than anybody else, but it's like the Rocky Balboa quote. It's not what knocks you down, but what makes you get up. And listen, I'm not gonna let this virus beat me. I'm not gonna let the government shutting me down beat me. I'm gonna do what I gotta do to put my business back up on top. And I'm hoping to be able to embrace business owners that haven't been able to make it, to bring them into my organization, to give them a way to make a living. I mean, I know a ton of DJs. I started the Chicago Disc Jockey Network here after the ADJA chapter closed, and for the first, I'd say March all the way through August, we did meetings both virtually and in person. And I even brought a hot dog cart out to the ones in June and July.
That's right. Yeah,
where
I remember that.
we put it in our parking lot. We fired up a sound system, and I can't tell you how happy everybody was just to be out on a beautiful day. We were all socially distanced from one another and just talking about, about what's going on in the world and what we think. And, the sad part is some people called me the angel of death because I was honest. And I didn't think we would work this year. And for the most part, we didn't. Yeah. And I don't think we'll work until the third quarter of next year on a regular basis. So I'm already looking at the pivot. The minute that Santa's done, I own a floral decor company. January 6th, our floral decor websites will have a shopping cart system so that people can start ordering flowers in our area for Valentine's Day.
Mm-hmm.
And our goal is to do 100 orders of at least 1 dozen roses, and that's it. So, and I'm doing what I'm doing to keep grinding and going and going and going and going. And listen, some of them have been a hit, some have been a miss. I've worked the pop-up drive-in, and I've walked away with $40, and
Mm-hmm.
other nights I've walked away with a couple $100. The lawn signs I thought would be a lot busier than they were, but I own them, and I'm going to continue to push them on our website and on our Facebook pages and everything else. And I'm just going to keep grinding, and it all fits together. So that's the other part of it.
Yeah. Casey, great stuff. We'll talk about the floral thing off the air. I've got a really great idea for you there and such. But thank you much for coming on and sharing your story here from 2020. Gang, we'll be right back in about 1 minute with Rob Ferre.
Thanks. Merry Christmas.
All right, we are in the anchor leg of our show tonight with Rob Ferre. Good evening, Rob.
Hey, thank you for letting me be a part of this.
Oh, thanks for coming in here and sharing your story of 2020 and how you have changed what you've done in the past to make this year work for you. Let's start at the beginning. How did it go, or what did you do?
Well, yeah, here's the thing is I just came off a virtual holiday party for Edward Jones, hence the outfit. So hopefully people are watching this beyond the holidays, they'll understand why. So March. It's March, right?
Yeah, it was.
And Mobile Beat's canceled, right? And we don't know what to do. And so I collaborate with a couple of other DJs, and I do my virtual presentation. We set it all up, and we do it, and it was an amazing thing. And once I kind of figured out there's possibilities of going beyond what we were doing, I had to kind of figure things out for myself. Mm-hmm. So I also created this virtual studio for myself, but I also did virtual dance parties. And I don't know, that was one other thing I wanted to do. I just wanted to be different. And I saw a lot of DJs going on Facebook, online, and doing these different parties and things like that, or just streaming. And I was like, well, I want to actually be with people out in the real world. And so what I'm going to show you here is this was actually what I started to do. These were my socially distant dance parties. I would go to neighborhoods and I would perform in the middle of the street, and I would have music playing. I actually collaborated with other DJs as well. Another guy in my market named Brady, he had a bus, and we'd DJ out of his bus. And I would just go around from neighborhood to neighborhood. And I actually asked for tips. I would do it for tips, and people would just Venmo me tips, and that's what I would do it for. I wouldn't say, hey, let me just come to your neighborhood, let me just perform. And I think that was one of the most important things. And I see a lot of DJs doing that too, is just getting out there performing. They're on Twitch, they're not really expecting any money, but they're just getting out there and performing. Mm-hmm. So that was the first thing I decided to do. I didn't really, once quarantine was over, April, May, for us here in Utah, that's kind of when it died off. Once the summer came, that's when my virtual dance parties died off. But I knew I needed to do something here, and that's why I made this virtual studio. And that's why I got a snazzy mic just like you. I've been inspired by people like you who know how to use Zoom, who know how to have good audio, and you figured it out a long time ago. And so now I'm trying to finally catch up with you, but I had to get the EV mic. I had to install all this stuff. But the thing is, as DJs, we're quite resourceful. We probably have half of the equipment sitting in our garage.
Yes.
So that's what I did, is I pieced it together. I got a Mackie mixer, which I use. I got this. I have my lapel mic that I use for ceremonies. I have uplights that are not on right now, but I have all sorts of things. And so I just repurposed a lot of stuff. Eventually, I bought stuff that was dedicated to this area, but that's the cool thing is I already had a lot of this stuff already. And so that's kind of what I did, and I started building it. And one of the most important things I did also was I created a promo video. This right here is my promo video. Actually, wait, let me, this right here is a video of me getting on the news for doing my socially distant dance parties. And the reason I tell you that is a lot of people, and my hope is, within our 15 minutes, is I can just give you guys as much advice as possible. I don't really want to talk about me, but I have to show you what I did to get to where I am. And I did these things on the news, right? Where they would show up and they would interview me and they would film my socially distant dance parties. And any news is good. This is good news. And so we're putting it out into the world. And so now people know me as the guy who's going around to these neighborhoods and doing these socially distant dance parties. Then I created this. This is my virtual promo video for my best virtual game show ever. And I wanted to create something that was unique to me that nobody else was doing. And so I used a lot of B-roll footage from when I used to do live game shows, also when I worked with the Jazz. And now I can't work with the Jazz. I can't work with people in general. So now I have to go virtual. And so I also inserted footage of me doing virtual events. So you could see all this B-roll footage. And how did I get this B-roll footage? Some of it was just me playing around in my house and pretending I'm doing a game show. And some of it was for free. Now that's the hard thing is, I don't know, this year, like any other year, do you remember that first year you were in the business, John?
Yes.
Like that hustle, hunger.
Oh, yes.
Remember? And you're like, we only have $100. I'll do it, right? So we've reverted back to that. And I've had to do a lot of events for free or a lot of events for $200, $300, right?
Right, yes.
We have to be humble. We have to suck up our pride and we have to be able to do that. And I did a lot of free events. And that's where I got a lot of my footage. But I also call it beta testing. When you can do a lot of free events and not have the stakes very high and like nobody's paying you, you can test out material, you can test out games, you can test out things. For example, let's check this out. What is this? Oh yeah, so this right here is footage of me doing a free event. I was doing free events, you can tell my setup was a little bit different back then. But I had to do a free event, and so what I would do is, I'm showing my logo there. I'm like, oh crap, now I got to switch it to this, and so you're seeing my mistakes happen in real time, but that was like a non-paid event. And so I was able to work some stuff out. And so what I'm trying to help people realize is there are possibilities for you. What is your niche? What is something that you do really well that nobody else does? And I don't know if you've had any questions come up while I've just talked, because I'm just kind of going. I want to make sure everybody kind of gets a little bit of value out of this. So with that being said, I could just speak like this forever about it. But here's the thing is what worked this year for me also was reaching out to a lot of past clients. So are you reaching out to past clients? I know that the holiday season's over and that might be a wash for you, but think about next year. Think about who you did production for. Who did you do conferences for? Who were you doing things for in the past? I know weddings are a little bit harder, and there's somebody you need to have on this as well. His name's Cooper Brown. He's in my same market. Cooper pivoted in a different way. He created a full virtual business where streaming business. I do virtual, he does streaming, where he goes to actual events and he does all the streaming for them. So he did ceremonies, he's done events. And so like just the other day, I saw that he was streaming the Nutcracker for a community event.
Nice.
And so he's just doing all sorts of things. And so he's another guy you should reach out to, folks. But you got to find out what you do really well and why people, but the first people you reach out to are maybe friends, family, and people that you want to do stuff for free. Over Thanksgiving, the Thanksgiving holiday, to ramp up for the Christmas season, I wanted to test out a lot of my games. So what did I do? I asked my wife's permission first, but I did Thanksgiving family game shows. Now, my normal pricing is, $500 and up above, right, for virtual. But for family game shows, I did it for $150. And I wanted to give that discount, but I also wanted to be able just to do these events. Also, you get word of mouth. you do maybe a family game show, and they say, well, can you do this for my company? Yes, that price is X, right?
Sure.
So corporate events are a little bit higher, but for family stuff, I just need to get my reps in, right? We need to get our times in. And where did you get your reps in the first place? Like back in the day, maybe clubs, maybe college parties, high school parties, where you probably were getting $150, maybe $400, whatever it was. So you got to get your reps in doing whatever you do. And so I'm just trying to give you guys some ideas here, just to be able to start thinking about what you can do. And here's the one thing that I'm seeing a very big, huge detriment to the DJ community. I don't see DJs on LinkedIn. I see DJs playing more on Facebook and arguing on Facebook. Quit arguing on Facebook. Quit it now. Get on LinkedIn. Level up your LinkedIn profile and start engaging with people. Start complimenting people. Start liking. Start doing. And then you start putting out videos. You start putting out things. And then you'll start to get noticed. What I do is I also follow a bunch of meeting planners. I follow meeting planners. I friend meeting planners. And those are my people. And Casey was talking a little bit about his reach. That's the cool thing about virtual is you can go anywhere in the country.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to do this to brag, but I want to tell you about the possibilities. Last Thursday, I did 7 virtual events. I woke up at 8 a.m., I did my first virtual event at 9, and I logged off at 8 p.m. that night.
Yes.
7 events. One was a school where I did a virtual dance party for elementary school kids. I went into each classroom virtually and did a 15-minute dance party for those kids. Then after that, I had game show after game show after game show. And so I've been extremely lucky this year, especially when it comes to the holiday season, because there's not a lot of people who do what I do.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, my game shows are fairly unique to me. I create a lot of my games. I don't just do trivia. I'm like, all right, answer A, B, or C. I have those games, but I want to create something that is fairly unique that nobody else is doing.
Certainly.
And so Nate Nelson, he did an awesome job when he would stream online. He would do his Mario Monday. He would do these. He did these dance parties that were family oriented, and he just did a whole lot of things. And I admire people who just put themselves out there. Casey's putting himself out there, and people are just finding ways. And so either it be live, either it be virtual, there are many possibilities. Okay, I've said most of that I wanted to say. Any questions from you since I've been talking?
So you had put your demo video together. You've talked about reaching out to family and friends and past clients. Did you then circulate that demo video to these past clients and such to get some excitement built up for that? Or was it something that you're doing some of the free events for the community, let's say, that led into these other opportunities?
Yeah, so a couple of things. I've also been able to be found by different booking agencies, which have booked me for multiple events. So a lot of my events have come from booking agents. But yes, getting it out into the world. So you got to post it on Facebook. And here's the thing is, I don't post a lot on Facebook, and that is intentional. So when I do post, people pay attention. Okay? So if you're constantly putting memes out there and videos of your cats. I do have a cat, so sometimes I do that. But if you're putting out noise and not relevant stuff, people are going to ignore you. So I put it on Facebook, I put it on LinkedIn, and I didn't do links to YouTube. That is a strategy that I've been doing is, people want to build up their YouTube page. I post natively on each source. So if I'm posting it to Facebook, when people are scrolling through, the video's already playing. And so watch this amazing thing. People aren't going to jump off of Facebook, go to YouTube, watch my video, and then go back. People want to stay on the platform they're on. Same with Instagram. You can now do Instagram stories, Instagram videos, reels. You have all that. I don't really use TikTok a lot, but I've been posting it on all those places. And so when I do also approach past clients, I worked with John Deere last year. I sent them a message and I said, I don't know if this is for you, but I'm doing virtual game shows. I know you maybe we're planning on doing a holiday party, but I'd love to do this with you. Oh, by the way, check out the video, see if that works. And so I always kind of slide it in at the very end. I ask them what they think about it. I'm like, check out the video, see if it's for you. Let me know. I kind of put it in their court. I want to make them be like, well, you can't tell me that's not for me. It's like, I don't know if that's for you, but maybe this thing, right?
Yeah, yep.
And so that's what I did. Is I did a lot of that with some past clients, and I also here's some things. Some of those past clients or some of the contacts don't work there anymore. So that's troubling. So I just go on LinkedIn and I find the head of the company who maybe remembered me, and the CEO tags me in a post and said, "This happened to me." He goes, "Hey, Jessica, reach out to Rob. We should have him come back and do our virtual event." I didn't work with her the first time, but she found me on LinkedIn and we got connected, and that's what's happening. And so you just have to find, like, stop wasting your time like arguing on Twitter or on Facebook or whatever. Start putting the good word out. Show people what you do. And that's the problem. That's what we have to do. We are self-promoters. As DJs, we have to self-promote the crap out of us so people get noticed. And so, but don't add to the noise and don't tag people. And that's the other thing I hate is if you post it on Facebook, don't tag like 50 people and be like, hey, hey, I'm doing this thing. And then you have to untag it. Anyway, don't do that. Just put it out there. People will share it. It'll get out there.
Rob, I got two questions, and we're getting to the end. First up, comparing the amount of hustle in 2019 to Rob Ferre's hustle in 2020, same, more or less, different? Compare and contrast.
Yeah, it's more. A lot of my leads were coming in naturally with, the DJ business. I've been in business 13 plus years, right? A lot of those leads started coming in, and it was kind of turnkey where leads would come in, I would do that. But this year, there's been a lot more. I had to work a lot harder this year, but I loved it because I was doing something different, and I looked to change what I was doing. And so that's what I was doing. I did a lot more. What was there one more question?
And then people want to reach out and get in touch with you and ask questions or pick whatever. How can they reach out to you?
Yeah, just reach out to me at Rob Ferre on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, at robferre.com. Also, you can find me there. So there's a lot of places where you can find me, but personally, best place is reach out on Instagram, send me a message. But also, if you're a DJ that wants to level up your LinkedIn, find me on LinkedIn. Let's have a conversation. Let's get you leveled up.
Sounds great, Rob. I appreciate your time and your passion for the industry. And thank you guys for being with us tonight. And this night, hopefully you got a couple of ideas, a couple of tips, and maybe some inspiration as we head into 2021. Rob, once again, thanks for being with me tonight. Good night.
Thanks, guys. Bye.